everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. I want to talk about our Porsche Boxster. This is our 986 Boxster. It's a 2000, it's got the 2.7 liter, it's a manual. And I just want to talk about what's going on with it, why you guys haven't been seeing it very much, especially not seeing it drive. We'll go over all of that in just a moment. Before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also make sure to check us out on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We do giveaways, just got done doing one, and there are more to come, so make sure you're following us on there. We got this car for a super good deal because it was not running right. In fact, actually it would just crank no start. Ended up being, we think it was maybe the crank position sensor, but it was also with the fuel pump. So we replaced both of those, got the fuel pump running right, and the car ran and drove. Now the car ran and drove just fine, no problems. Evap issue with filling the car up, it would spit gas back at you and it didn't really like. Sometimes I feel like it would kind of like lock the tank, like vapor lock the tank, because just things with the evap system. It's not anything super crazy or abnormal for cars of this age, but other than that, we've just been able to do really fun stuff. Put suspension on it, got to paint the wheels, got harnesses in it, we've got a steering wheel ready to go for it, toggle switch panel, getting ready for a fuel cell to get rid of that evap issue. And the car, unfortunately, last winter, so winter of 23 to 24, the car sat all winter long. It didn't get started. And then the next spring when it got started up, it ran rough. And we scanned the codes, and no matter what we did, it just ran rough and ran rough and ran rough. So I'll go over the codes here real quick. P0300, 301, 302, and 303. Those four codes right there is random misfire, and then I believe that's the passenger side bank. So I believe that's bank 1, and that's misfire cylinder 1, 2, and 3. So why the heck did half the engine start misfiring? And then P0300 could be a bazillion different things. So hopefully when we track this down, that P0300 clears up, because if it was just that all by itself, it could literally be like 40 different things. The next code we were getting was P0343. That is a bank 1 camshaft position sensor. Not a big deal, cool. Well, pulled the camshaft position sensor out, put a new one in, nothing happened. Then we took the new one that was on that bank and the old one that was on this bank, I believe it's 1 and 2, took them and swapped them. So put the new one on this side and put the old one back over there, nothing happened. Still ran the exact same codes, 300, 301, 302, 303, and 343. I've got a few things that I want to try, and I'm really hoping that one of them is not it, but if it is, then we're just gonna have to suck it up and do it. The first thing is I want to make sure that our fuel trims on each side of the engine are good, that we don't have something in the fuel line. We did do a lot of work in the fuel line, and we tried to flush it, and maybe we moved some gunk around and it got into the bank 1. Not sure. We have a scan tool that's coming for this car specifically. It's through a sponsor, Ansel. You've seen them before on the channel, and that will be in a upcoming video, not in this video. And today I just kind of want to talk about what's going on with the car and what our plans are. The other thing that it could be is a variocam, which is essentially the VTEC, variable valve timing for the car. And it controls a lot of things, and they go bad. They're fairly common maintenance item. Unfortunately, I think the one on this car is underneath the valve cover, which isn't a huge deal, except for it's a flat 6. If this was underneath the valve cover of like one of the BMWs we work on, no big deal. It's like a 30-minute job. It'd take longer for me to explain what we're doing on camera than it would be to pull the valve cover off. Unfortunately, on this car, it is a little bit harder to get to that variocam up underneath the valve covers. Then the next thing about it is that variocam, the cheapest one I've seen, is just over $900. That kind of sucks. You know, I would much rather spend that $900 doing something else. You know, there's lots of cool things we could do. I've got a hub and a quick release that we'd like to buy for the car at some point, and just lots of things that we could be doing to the car, but instead we're going to be doing maintenance. But that's part of owning any vehicle. So supposedly that scan tool we're getting from Ansel can see the timing, the cam timing, and see both sides of the engine. So I'm not sure. We'll see it when it gets here, but it's actually got the Porsche program on it and it's ready to go. In fact, it only has Porsche on it. So I'm pretty excited to get that done. We'll get the car started and hopefully it's just some injectors. Please, if I could either get some new injectors or clean them, that'd be so fantastic. We're talking a couple $100 and we're in and out, and that's OEM Bosch. We'll put replacement injectors back in it, or maybe even do some upgraded ones. Depends on what we're thinking. So stay tuned for that video. I really appreciate everybody being patient with us. This car has been, like I said, just running rough. So I've got ECS tuning coilovers on the car. We're supposed to do a tune and a drive with those coilovers. Well, I can't go take the car out. I can't. It runs so rough that even on camera, because I tried to do it, I had the camera set up, and while I'm sitting there just driving and talking about the car, it just was, and you could hear it through the camera, and it just was, well, and it's not good to run a car while it's misfiring. So I think while it's been I think we've put just a couple miles on it this last year, and it's really just been running back and forth to the garages or down the street to get some photos of it. You know, after we did the wheels, we took it down the street to get some photos of it in the parking lot, and we just haven't really been able to drive it. If anybody has any ideas of what it could be, again, the code's 300, 301, 302, 303, and 343. That would be fantastic. I personally think it's that Vario cam, so we'll just find out when the time comes. I also want to do a review on the roof and talk about our experiences with it. Now, this was already painted. It wasn't painted super well. It's getting a lot of cracks in its fiberglass. Fiberglass, you have to be really careful about how you prep it and all sorts of stuff because the paint will fail on it. But that doesn't have anything to do with the roof itself. I'd like to go through and do a video and show it off and talk about kind of like my thoughts about it and how it's been to own and maintain it, because we've had to do some tweaking to it. And this hatch here, the struts on it are not the same length. It's just like, you can't just call up O'Reilly's and be like, hey, I need a set of struts for this car, because, well, they don't really exist. You have to know the size, and it's been a fun car, but it's been very interesting to learn on. So anyways, thanks everybody so much for watching. Comment down below. Love to hear back from you. Again, thanks so much for being patient with us. We've got a lot of stuff we want to do on this car. Eventually the engine will go out on us, and we'd like to put a larger, like a 911 engine in it or something like that, or I don't know, turbo it. We'd like to, if I could get similar horsepower out of this as we do the other cars, 350, 450 horsepower, I think this thing would absolutely scream. So that's kind of what we're shooting for right now, but just taking it one step at a time. Thanks again so much for watching. We'll see everybody in the next video.
Bam!